I grabbed my dad's 357 Magnum and I grabbed my weed and I hopped in the car and I hit it out. I was going to kill this guy. My name is David Ledbetter and this is my story. So it's 1988. I'm living in Yuma with a bunch of Marines and a couple of other people. And I'm a musician and I found myself without a job and I'm selling LSD, acid, to Marines because they can take it without getting in trouble. It doesn't show up in their UA, their urine analysis. And so I would drive down to Phoenix, I would buy the acid, and then drive back up to Yuma and sell it. And I'd make a pretty good money, and I'd made a few friends and a couple of enemies. And so one of my cohorts, unbeknownst to me, ripped off some local guys for something, but didn't tell anybody. And so one night, we're all sound asleep in the house, in the apartment, and these guys break into our apartment, and in retaliation, they steal my guitars. And we had no idea who did it. It was a complete mystery. So we had to let it go. There was nothing I could do about it. So fast forward a year, I moved back to Phoenix, in with my mom, get a new start going on, and I'm probably there about a week when I get a phone call from one of my old partners in crime, and they tell me they're at a party, and there's a guy right now bragging about stealing my guitars. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. He's like, no, he's talking about it right now. And so I'm like, I'm coming down there right now. Tell me where you are. So he tells me, and the first thing I do is look at my mom. Hey, Mom, can I borrow your car? And she had just got a brand new Dodge Shelby Sport. You know, this thing was amazing. You could burn the tires in second gear. This thing was such a sports car. I'd never seen anything like it. My dad had just recently died, and so my mom she bought that car. And so she's, yeah, you can borrow the car for sure. And I grabbed my dad's 357 Magnum and I grabbed my weed and I hopped in the car and I hit it out. I was going to kill this guy. And I'm cruising down I-10, jamming out to Ted Nugent, listening to Stranglehold, fantasizing about how I'm going to kill him. And I'm right about where University hits I-10 on the exit, and all of a sudden, the entire dashboard of this car just lights up like an airplane cockpit. Every single light in the world went on. Everything. I was like, what? And then everything went dark, and the car died. And so I pulled the car over to the side of the road, and there I am on I-10 on a Friday night with a gun, with weed. And I'm stressed. I'm like, a cop's going to come any minute. He's going to start asking questions. There's no way I'm going to be able to hide this. And so I'm looking under the hood and I can't find anything wrong with it. It's a brand new car. And pretty soon a man pulls up in this nice black car with his whole family. And he says, is there anything I can help you with? And I said, you can get me to a phone. I need to make a phone call right away. And the guy reaches out across his wife and hands me a phone. Now, this is 1989. None of us had phones back then. So that was amazing to me. I was like, wow, because I was worried about how long it was going to take. And so I dialed the phone. I called my mom, said, please get a tow truck. And she said, I'll get it for you. And then I, hung up the phone and handed it back to him. And the guy says to me, do you go to church? And I said, yeah. Honestly, I was as far away from God as a person could be. I was heading to kill someone. I was a drug dealer. I was as lost as a person could be. I completely turned my back on the Lord. And he said, here, I'd love it if you came to our church. And he reached out and he handed me a card with his church information on it. And I was like, okay, thank you. I was polite. And I grabbed it and I, whatever. And so he said, well, good luck. And he took off in his car. And so in not too long, a tow truck driver pulled up and my mom pulled up with our neighbor. And I got the gun and the weed out of the car and they put the Shelby on the tow truck and sent it back to the dealership. I got in the car with my mom and said, thank you so much. And she's like, what did you do to my car? And I'm like, I didn't do anything, Mom. I swear. I don't know what's wrong with it. And she said, well, I'm thinking this car, a brand new car like this, it's going to be expensive. So we go back to the house, and I stay the night there, and, we wake up the next day, and we call, and they have no information. We call again. They have no information. By the middle of the afternoon, we call again, and the guy from the dealership, he says, well, ma'am, we have looked all over this car, up and down, every single system, and there's nothing wrong with your car. And I was just like, that's the moment I realized that even though I had my back to God, as far away from him as possible, ignoring him, he was still loving me. My son would have never been born. I would have gotten caught. I would have been to prison. I would have been a completely different person than I am today. But his goodness was still there. So I'll never forget that. And that's my story.